Once again, we are back with this Toyota Avalon. It's about 2 weeks later. Nothing wrong. It's actually just here to get the front brakes done because the front brakes have some pretty good grooves in them, and under hard braking, there's a little bit of a wobble coming from the front end. So we're going to go ahead and take care of those front rotors and pads. The owner reported to me that the mirror is working well, as well as the new door handle that we put back there. She said she's really happy with everything. Also, we have this light on, and it's to signify that there's something wrong on the light bulbs, and I checked it, and we have a blown out light bulb in the tail lights. So we're actually going to go ahead and replace that light bulb today as well to get rid of this little light. And you may notice there's no check engine light on. So in my previous video, I talked about the EGR valve and how I left a little hose disconnected by accident. Well, it's been about 2 weeks and no check engine light, so that tells me the system's all good. There's nothing wrong with the EGR system. Starting off with the brake lights, you can see this is the one that's blown out. This one still works, but because the pack that we have is a 2-pack, we're just going to change both of them. I got the bulb out, and look how flat these things are. If I get this to focus, it reminds me of Ivan's video over at Pine Hollow Auto Diagnostics. Just having an issue with a bulb on a BMW in his video where these connections are flattened out like that. That's crazy. Never really noticed that until he pointed it out in his video. So I don't know how common this is, but you can see what the new ones are supposed to look like. Anyway, I got this one in. Let's go ahead and pop this one in and test them. With the headlights on, you can see they both work. Now let's go ahead and press the brake pedal. Everything works, so that's all set for this. Now we can do the front brakes. One final test is we're going to start up the car, and that little light that was there before should not turn back on. And the second you hit the brake lights, if there's a problem, it should turn on. I'm pushing a brake. You can see. And no warning light for tail lights. So it's all set. The car is happy with the new light bulbs in it, and that's one easy problem knocked out. Now we can finally move on to the front brakes. Just to show you guys what I'm talking about, get this to focus. You can see all the grooves that are in the rotor, and we got the same exact thing going on the right side of the car. Oh, look at this. We got some self-greasing pads here. So it looks like the pads banging around inside the box ruptured the grease packet. There's a little slice in it right there somewhere. Yeah. And it's on one of the ears of the pad. Here I've got my neighbor's Durango. It's been in plenty of my other videos, but this time we're having an issue with, he said the blower motor randomly stops, then you hit like a bump and then it comes back again. So I don't know if you could hear this, but the blower motor is on high speed right now. If you come inside of here and mess with this, right there you hear the blower motor turn off. Alright, so a little bit more tracking down. I realize that the problem is not right here, because even if I move the harness like somewhere down here, very minimal, it would still get the blower motor to turn off. So I took off the panel that goes right here, this kick panel. It turns out this is not the problem, but I did notice as I moved this set of wires, I could hear what sounds like arcing, okay? So let's go ahead and follow this upward, and you'll notice there's a stud right there with a nut on it. You see it? Now, I don't know how well it's picking up, but that nut is completely loose. And if you look underneath it where the washer would be, you can see all that black stuff. That is the arcing. So let's see if I can get this to... Oh, there it goes. You can see it moving. I'm trying to get it to kind of arc. Okay, so no lights on. Look at that. Woo! Alright, I'm gonna stop this, but you guys get the idea. Okay, so I was able to tighten up the nut. All the wires are nice and secure. Moving them around now, it does not make the blower motor drop out, so that's good. It does work. In case anyone's wondering how or why a nut like that comes loose, well, the owner told me the dash was actually removed to replace a heater core years ago. So it just seems like whoever pulled the dash off, they were in a hurry to get the job done as quick as possible, and they did a really shit job at putting it back together, because that is not the first ground point that I found loose on this truck. That one down there, the first harness that I was wiggling, that one was also loose, and I remember tightening it the last time it was here for a no start problem. And on this side, also behind this kick panel, there was at least 2 other grounding points that were also loose. So yeah, they just did a real shit job at putting the dash back together, but that's what caused this, and it's fixed now. This sucks. The glass, or the regulator, is messed up. You can see they got tape here, and I told the owner about getting it fixed. It's winter, I know you want your heat working, but obviously keeping your window up is just as important, right? But they said no, they don't want to put the money into it, and they're just going to keep using tape to hold it up. So when I came out today to get the truck, the window was actually this far down. So much for security, right? This Mustang just got dropped off. Smoke was coming from underneath the hood, overheating. What do you think is wrong? Probably a bad radiator. Now, I don't see anything leaking out the radiator, but there probably isn't enough coolant in the system to make it leak. One thing I noticed, which I think I actually found a problem. I'm just waiting for the owner to drop off some parts. They're going to drop off the upper radiator hose and some coolant. As you can see, I already got everything ready because they need the car back as soon as possible. Just about done with this Mustang. It actually took a while to bleed out the system. It just it was difficult, but it's all set now. We have a good amount of heat blowing out these vents, and the system is now topped off. I still have my funnel, if you can see, but looks like it's gonna be all set now, so I could go ahead and close off the cooling system. We are in a Cadillac. I think it's a DTS, and it's here because of this. You can see the ABS and traction light are on. We have codes for front right wheel speed sensor. It says erratic signal. So looking at the data here, so I can get this to focus. It's really rough. So you can already see the difference between the left and the right side wheels up front. Why is this road so bumpy? See that? So let's take it back to the garage and see what's going on. Let's inspect that wheel speed sensor. Alright, so I used a little mirror to look behind there, but let's see if we could just put the camera back here and see this. Let's see, where are we? Now if you look at the right there, right underneath the sensor, you see that broken piece that looks like something's missing? And that's because there is something missing. So every time the sensor passes what's essentially a dead spot, that's where we're dropping out our signal. Let's see if I could move the wheel hub a little bit so you guys could see it better. See it down there? Now let's try to come all the way around, and there goes where it picks up again. See that? So it looks like this Cadillac is going to need a wheel bearing. About a week ago, I noticed that my Milwaukee gun is starting to make some weird noises. Sounds like a dried out bearing or something like that. So let's listen to a good one. Not sure if you guys could distinguish the difference in sound. But since I use it every day, I know it sounds different. It just sounds like some dried out bearings in there. So hopefully it doesn't give up the ghost on me. But we'll see. I'll keep you guys updated if it dies. I am in a Ford Explorer. I'm not sure what year this one is, like a 04 or something like that. But it was dropped off because it has no power. They say it won't go over 10-15 miles per hour, and that is true. So, alright, we're at a stop sign, and let's go for it. That's like the pedal, all the way floored. Won't go past 2,000 RPM. Alright, so here's the codes on the truck. If I could get this to focus. There we go. We have catalyst efficiency, bank 2. Idle air control valve duty cycle. So the owner took the truck to AutoZone. They pulled the codes. And what does AutoZone sell them? Idle air control valve, right? It makes sense. I'm back at the garage and the truck is at idle. And the mass airflow grams per second is at 14, 15. We get on the accelerate pedal. Like I said, it won't go past like 2,000 RPM. So it goes up to 28, 29 grams per second. And back to idle, it's like 16, 15. Alright, so I want to go look at the mass airflow sensor. Okay, so the mass airflow sensor was a little dirty, nothing crazy, not even worth recording, but I went ahead and cleaned it anyway, and it did make a small improvement. You can see at idle, now we're at about 6, 7 grams per second instead of the 14, 15. But we still have the same problem, so it's not the fix. There's no denying that cleaning the mass airflow sensor did help. It is idling better. But like I said, it did not fix the problem. Also, let's not forget that we did have a code for catalyst efficiency. So is it possible that we have another clogged catalytic converter here, and that's what's restricting the breathing of the engine? And what's leading me to start to think about that is because at idle it has no signs of something's wrong with the engine. It idles really nice. I don't hear the weird noises. The short-term and long-term fuel trims, they both look good. So the engine itself seems to be in decent running shape. So let's start looking into a clogged catalytic converter. I took the engine cover off and look at what's the first thing I notice. It has a brand new idle air control valve already on it. So clearly that's not the problem. It's weird because she's the original owner of this car. Why would you go to a store and buy an idle air control valve? You have to have some knowledge of someone already replacing that part. It's your car and you're the only owner. I don't know the backstory, but clearly replacing that IAC is not going to fix the problem. Alright, so I'm on the passenger side of the truck pointing towards the driver's side. It just seems easier like this. Look at that. So basically 550, 560, right? So that's bank 2, the one we have the code for. Very hot. Okay, now I'm hitting the heat shield. We're right after the cat, 550, okay? So let's check behind the cat on bank 1. Alright, so this is pointing towards bank 1, as you can see right there. So right after the catalytic converter. On bank 1, we're about 300 degrees. So the difference between bank 1 and bank 2 is about 250 degrees. Alright, so I just decided to pull out my tampon and just go underneath the truck and remove that upstream O2 sensor. So that's what I did. And this is gonna be the first startup. Let's see what it does. Oh, get that thunder going. Alright. Doesn't like that. Try it again. Alright, I'm not gonna run it much more. It's actually like 3 a.m. so I can't be making that much noise. But you saw it real fast. It went up to 3,000 RPM without any hesitation before I could not get it to go past like 2,100. It is now the next day and I started up the truck. Now I can't get it to drive because it shuts off on me if I take my foot off the pedal. And that's because it doesn't like having the upstream oxygen sensor not in the exhaust stream. I could probably try unplugging it and forcing the car into open loop, but it's not even worth my time because I got it to rev up to like 6,000 RPM, and that's pretty much the red line on this truck. So that it's pretty definitive that with somewhere for the exhaust gases to escape to, the engine revs just fine, and then as soon as you put the O2 sensor back in and essentially create a cap, it won't go past 2,100 RPM. So that's pretty much it. And as far as the IAC, I guarantee you the first one that the owner installed, the one that's already on the car, I guarantee you did not need that part in the beginning, and then they brought a second one trying to get me to install that one, and that's when I told them, hold on, I'm not just gonna put this part on the car because you're telling me clearly it's a waste of money. But they're coming to pick up the car now. It's going to need to go to a muffler shop or wherever, someone who deals with that, because I don't do that type of work. So they're just gonna come pick it up, and that'll be it for this one. Alright, so I couldn't just leave you guys on that, right? Let's see, let's turn on my light here, and I've got my little camera going right into the hole right there where the O2 sensor would be. Let's see if we could actually look at the inside of the converter. Turn my light off. Could already see signs of damage inside of there. Alright, so that's pretty much it for this one. Just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an insight so you could actually see what's going on inside this converter. Really interesting. And that's it. I'm just gonna go ahead and put the O2 sensor back in place so they could pick up the truck. I'm in a 2002 Ford Escort ZX2, and it came in because it had lean codes and for an oil change. Okay, so I did the oil change, and looking into the lean problem, the short-term fuel trends were like positive like 10, 13, 14, something like that, right? So anyway, I diagnosed a bad mass airflow sensor was underreporting, and we changed it. And at that point, I'm like, cool, it'll be simple to change. I'll tell the customer, hey, come pick it up in like a half hour, right? So they show up, start up the car for the first time, and it runs like crap. It runs horrible. It's stalling, and I just had to tell the owner, just let me figure out what's going on, come back later, and so right? So I do know this. After checking the scanner, I see we now have a vacuum leak somewhere, because the short-term fuel trends are maxed out at like 32 or something like that. Do another smoke test, and it turns out while I was in there doing an oil change, reaching behind the engine to get to the filter, I actually knocked loose a vacuum hose that was dry rotted, and it just slipped right off. Stupid things like that. You gotta be careful, guys. Something like that you would not think that would cause a problem. Like you figure all I did was change the mass airflow sensor. There's no reason why it should be stalling and stumbling and all kinds of things like that. But if it wasn't doing that before, it had to be something you did. Lesson learned. It was embarrassing, honestly. You tell a customer, hey, come pick it up, they turn it on, and it's running horrible, like worse than the way it came in. But anyway, we got that resolved. Put a new hose on it, replace that dry rotted one, and now we could see our mass airflow sensor and our short-term fuel trims. Everything looks good. They're no longer at 10, 13, 14%. So I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. Here I have a 2002 Nissan Versa, and it's here because of this. You can see the windows down. It's kind of stuck in this position. It will not move, and it's middle of winter, so this is not a good thing to happen right now. Anyway, took everything apart, and here goes the harness that plugs into the regulator assembly. I tested it. Right here we have everything we need coming out of this harness to make this motor work, yet it doesn't work. So it has to be a bad regulator. I picked up a new one, as you can see, and I'm pretty confident that this is going to fix the problem, but it doesn't hurt to test it. So go ahead, hit the switch, and there you go. Alright, so that's it. I'm just gonna go ahead and pop out the old one, pop in a new one, and this one will be all set. Got a 2003 Toyota rav4 here. I've actually worked on this car before. So when it came in with those, it had crazy misfires, just didn't want to run. And it's back a few months later, and it's almost like the same problem. Here goes the codes. See, we have a random misfire, cylinder 2, cylinder 3, and then the ECT sensor circuit low. And a misfire, and again. Okay. Let's go ahead and start it up and listen to this thing. First thing I notice is under crank, before it actually starts, it doesn't sound very good. It doesn't sound like it has good compression. But yeah, it's running rough. Besides rough running, a customer complaint is also says intermittent heat loss, or she says most of the time the heat is not there, and then once in a while it'll work and then it goes away. I don't know why, but I think I smell gasoline, and I don't know what this is down there, but if you look, you can see it's wet. There's like a puddle or something on there. Right there I could see coolant. So I don't know what's going on here. Got a pretty good oil leak right here. It's just one of those cars that really is. This thing is a piece of junk. 228,000 miles. Well, look, last time she was here, I told her she needed a master cylinder. I quoted her on it. It looked like she had someone else do the job. Alright, I just tested the brakes real fast. I turned the car on and tried moving, and the brakes, they feel very good, nice and firm. Last time this car was here, this pedal just went all the way to the floor. I diagnosed it, and she obviously had someone else put it on. This is why I charge people. Well, let me start over. People around here get offended, or they don't like that I tell them there's a fee for looking at their car because of stuff like this. What'll happen is they try to get you to look at their car for free and tell them what's wrong. You know, I could easily spend, 20, 30, 40 minutes looking at their car, trying to figure out what's wrong, and then you tell them what's wrong, and they don't bring it back to you. They have someone else do it. So you just wasted your time and made nothing off of it. And that's a perfect example. Did not charge her any extra for that. And clearly took it somewhere else. Alright, so it's pretty much a done deal here. I tried to do a relative compression test, and I just could not get it to work because all I have is this small amp clamp here. You can see it's got the small end on it. It doesn't have like a large hoop, or whatever you want to call it, a large claw to fit over these thicker gauge wires. I can't get it on the positive cable going to the starter, or on the ground side. I can't get it to work. Anyway, I decided to pressurize the cooling system because she also had a complaint of lost her heat. So I started pressurizing the system, and I noticed immediately that it was just losing pressure like crazy. And I filled the system up with water, by the way, because it was completely empty. So it was losing pressure, and then it got like somewhere right here, and then it stopped. It like hit a wall. Alright, so I don't see any external leaks, so it's time to pull out a spark plug because we had misfires. Okay, so system is pressurized. Take out spark plug number 2. What do we see? Bam, completely filled with the water that I just put into the radiator. This thing's done for. This lady doesn't even want to pay me the few dollars that I'm asking to look over the car. They're not gonna pay to put an engine in this thing. This car is ready for the junkyard. It's pretty rough around the edges too. 228,000 miles. That sucks, but at least I'm done looking at it. And the thing is, with all that coolant in there, the car's not gonna run. You might end up bending a valve if a valve isn't already bent. The car does not want to run very well. It's horrible. So I'm suspecting engine damage has already been done. I hate stupid things like this. Here's a key for this rav4. Doesn't open any of the doors, and you can see it's like a generic key. I told the owner I would leave the key somewhere so she could pick it up, because I'm not going to be home when she comes to get the car. But naturally, last night, what do you do in a neighborhood like this? You lock all your doors, right? Well, the owner failed to tell me to don't lock the doors because she doesn't have a key to get into the car. This key only starts the car. So officially locked out. Complete BS. You know, you gotta tell the person who's working on your car. You have to tell them things like this. If your key does not work, let them know. So yeah, just me ranting. We must have dinosaurs. Alright, go ahead, turn the steering wheel. Okay, that's enough. That's our power steering leak. This job went pretty easy. I got the new hose installed. As you can see it down there. Already bled the system. Power steering now works just fine. Here's the old hose. Yeah, this thing was done for. Had multiple leaks on it. Got sprayed in the face, so that was fun. But it's all set now. Just gonna go ahead, pull it out. I checked for leaks. Absolutely no leaks, so that's real good. Here I have a 2011 Hyundai Elantra. And just doing some maintenance on it. Just the other day we changed like the spark plugs, the air filter, cabin filter, serpentine belt, things like that. And now it's back, so we could change the PCV valve, which I already did. It's located right there. And also we're gonna change the transmission fluid. Now we're not doing a complete flush. We're not gonna change the filter or anything like that. We're just draining whatever comes out the transmission, and that's what we're going to replace it with. So plain and simple, nothing fancy. Here's the drain plug for the transmission. You can see it has a good amount of shavings on it. Not the worst thing. Let's see how many miles are on this car. Alright, so this vehicle has I'm all messed up. Okay, so this vehicle has 132,000 miles on it, and this is the first time the fluid gets changed or any type of service to the transmission. So here goes the fluid. See its color, and we have new fluid here from the dealer. So let's go ahead and crack one of those open and see what the fluid color looks like. By the way, here's the drain plug after I cleaned it off from all the little shavings it had. See how it looks now. But let's go check out that new fluid. Alright, so I just used the caps that came with the bottles so we can look at the fluid color here. This is the old fluid, obviously, and this is new fluid. Alright, that's enough looking at colors. Let's go ahead and fill this thing up with new fluid. Here I have a Subaru Tribeca, and it's here because the owner got a check engine light, so she took it to AutoZone or someplace. I don't know the real backstory on it. She took it somewhere, but it had a check engine light for cooling fan rationality check malfunction, okay? So for some reason they told her she needs a thermostat, alright? And the car is completely warmed up, as you can. Whoa, it's actually overheating. That's not good. Okay, well anyways, they got me changing a thermostat, okay? Because she doesn't get heat, and I could agree with that. There's no heat here. She said she only gets heat while she's moving, and then once she comes to a stop, it goes back to blowing cold air, which to me sounds like a stuck open thermostat. But a stuck open thermostat is not going to cause a car to overheat. I don't know what's going on here. It's showing the temperatures at 233 degrees. Both of the fan relays are on, and I opened up the hood right now. I checked it. Both fans are running. I quickly put my hand on the two hoses going to the heater core, and they're both cold. Okay, so that's a problem right there. What's going on here? Okay, so despite the temperature saying it's at 233 degrees, and I noticed that it's running, and even with the fans at max speed, that temperature would not change. It just stood 233 degrees, right? So it's been like 30 seconds since I turned the car off, and I decided to pull the cap. I know. Trust me, I was trying to be as safe as I can and protect myself from any possible coolant that might spray out. But we got absolutely nothing out of here. And one problem already is this came out just like this, 2 pieces. So I don't know what's going on here. The little seal looks to be right here. So what's this? Is this from a old cap and someone just forgot to remove it? I have no idea, but it was on there when I removed this. Another thing is, as hot as the temperature is saying, we should have had coolant, trying to flow out of here as soon as you relieve the pressure, but we got absolutely nothing. Look inside of there, you can't see anything. So it's running hot because there's no coolant in it, and we're not getting any heat because there's no coolant in it. So this is not going to be a just change thermostat like they're paying me to do and fix the problem. No, this thing needs to get filled up and then pressurized and see where it's leaking from to fix the actual leak. I think that's what's going on here. Some coolant was put in it, pressurize the system, and it's hard to tell, but we are dropping pressure very slowly, and I can't see a leak, but I can hear what sounds like coolant escaping from somewhere. So I'm just gonna keep looking for it, and as soon as I find the actual leak, I'll let you guys know. Alright, so you can see something dripping right here. Come up here, look at that rotted out pipe. Alright, so it's pretty much a done deal for this one. It needs that crossover pipe or crack pipe, whatever the heck it's called. We're also going to try to get that little rubber elbow that comes right off of it, so we'll see what parts are available. And we'll go ahead and get this thing fixed right. But, they wanted me to just slap a thermostat on it today, and that's not going to happen. I'm not going to do that because it's not going to fix her problem. I mean, it may give her a false sense of security, because what'll happen is we'll change thermostat, we'll fill up the system, bleed the system to drive away with the engine happy and heat inside of the cabin, thinking everything's okay. But a month from now, 2 months from now, when all that coolant drips out, she's going to be right back at square one, because there won't be any more coolant in the system. So we are not going to be, this one thing. There are people that will literally throw parts at a car because that's what the part was brought in for. But this is just one of those cases where you got to step back and say, hey, this is a real problem. Doing this right now, what you want me to do is not going to fix your car, and I just don't want people thinking bad things about me like that, because that's bad for business when you do stupid things like that, knowing it's not going to fix a car, but you're trying to make a quick buck. That's not the way to do it, okay? So we're going to try to order the parts online and get the car back as soon as possible so we could fix the actual problem. Of course, I'm going to top off the cooling system so she could drive the car in the meantime, because obviously you don't want to drive with the engine overheating. Okay, so I'm done filling up the cooling system and pretty much bleeding it. We now have heat coming out the vents. Also the fans, when the temperature rises, the fan turns on to cool it off, and everything is looking good on here. As you can see, it says 203 right now, and when it does get hot, the fans cool it down, and then everything's back to normal and the fans turn off. So it's working as it should.